Hi, my name's Barrie Crampton. Welcome to another episode of Straight Outta Crampton. This episode's called It's a Sign of the Times. I was trying to think of the deal that I've had to work hardest to get, and this one springs to mind as it involved learning something new and making an ass of myself at the same time. I have a rather flippant way of telling stories, as you may have gathered, so just in case anyone thinks that that's my intention to make fun of an impediment, let me be clear, it's not. There were 4 of us in the showroom that day, and there was no sales manager to watch over us. I was actually working, but the other 3 had taken the time out and gathered at my desk to chat and drink coffee. If there's one thing that I hate, it's walking into a shop where the staff stare or ignore you, and you feel like you don't belong there. The customer had come in through the big roller shutter door, which was open at the back of the garage, and we hadn't heard him approach. All 4 of us turned to look at him when he coughed to attract our attention. Important lesson, you only get one chance to make a good first impression, and we'd all blown it, big style. It got even worse. We were near a new industrial estate, and the flow of people coming in to ask for directions was relentless. Even more irritating was they all seemed to think that we should leave customers who were looking at cars just to deal with them. More often than not, when we, the salesmen, were interrupted, the customer took it as an opportunity to escape and would say, "It's okay, I was just going anyway." You'd lose a chance to sell a car just because the guy seeking directions couldn't read a map, was too impatient to wait his turn, and sat-nav hadn't been invented yet. A lot of the direction seekers were foreign lorry drivers, so as we Brits do when communicating with foreigners, we just shout in English and assume that it will miraculously translate into their language. We were all fed up of being interrupted when we were in the middle of our sales patter, so we'd just started to ignore them, treating them like they were invisible and concentrating on our customers. The guy standing in front of us was holding a pad, a bit like me, holding a pad and a pen. So we all thought, here we go again, and wrongly jumped to the conclusion that he wanted directions, and that we'd spend the next half hour shouting directions in Franglish like Officer Crabtree from Hello Hello. He must have sensed the hostility that we all felt towards yet another person who we thought were going to waste our time. He just stood there like a rabbit caught in the headlights, clutching his pen and paper. I was the first to speak as the others turned away and continued to drink the coffee. "What are you looking for, mate?" I asked. The guy seemed to be making a lot of effort to speak, but just a couple of noises came out. It was almost like a stifled yawn. I said, "Pardon?" But another one of the lads laughed and said, "Sorry, mate, I don't know where that is." The guy scribbled on his pad and thrust it towards me. It said, "I'm deaf." Then, clearly upset, he turned to walk out. I'm pretty soft. I felt dreadful. I grabbed my pad and pen and I ran after him. I apologised profusely for our unacceptable behaviour via my pad, and I asked him to come back into the showroom. He wouldn't, but he wrote on my pad, "I may come back next week with my friend." I'd recognised the sign he made as he left the showroom. Loose fist moving from side to side. It was the same sign that I used to demonstrate my anger to other motorists who'd upset me. I knew the gesture for OK, which is a sign used by scuba divers, O made touching thumb and forefinger together. I didn't want to upset him again, and I just hoped it was the same in sign language, and it wasn't another version of the same gesticulation, but meant you were and you also had a small. He seemed all right, so I gave him my card and wrote on it the days I'd be working. This was in 1984, so there was no internet, and I had to resort to the yellow pages. I located the Royal Cross School for the Deaf, which was in Preston and not too far away from us. The receptionist listened as I explained my predicament. I needed to learn sign language in the next 6 days. She gave me the name of a tutor, suggested the books I needed to read, and wished me good luck. I confessed that I wasn't confident that I'd be up to the task, but she assured me that chimpanzees and gorillas had been taught to sign. Coco, the gorilla, had a vocabulary of 200 to 300 words. That was probably more than I knew in English. If she'd have known that my teachers at school were the first ones to coin the phrase, "It would be quicker to teach a monkey," she'd have realised that it was a new brain I needed, not luck. I'd managed to learn the sign language alphabet and a couple of other general signs, so when I saw him come into the showroom accompanied by his friend, I stood up and saluted him. This is the sign for hello, or so I'd been told. I probably looked like the Benny Hill character, Fred Scuttle, and my deaf customer started to laugh. The more I tried to sign, the more he laughed. Before long, tears were rolling down his cheeks. I must have been like the Officer Crabtree of sign language.
I was pissing by the door. When I heard 2 shots. You are holding in your hand a smoking goon.
But it taught me a lesson and showed me how frustrating it is to be forced to try to communicate in a language that only a very tiny percentage of the population can understand. There was a slight flaw in my plan that I hadn't envisaged. When he signed back to me, his fingers moved so fast that I hadn't got a clue what he was saying. I'm pretty sure he was doing it on purpose to show me how he'd felt when we greeted him for the first time. His interpreter friend saved the day when he grabbed my hands and laughing he said, "Please stop doing that, you're causing a draft." From then on, he translated, and between the 3 of us, we negotiated a deal. Even though I was as good at signing as I am at Chinese writing, my customer had appreciated that I thought he was important enough for me to try and learn. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video, bye bye.